I've said before, it's like trying to plan a prison break. If you're planning a prison break, you have to be very careful. You have to be very patient. You have to be very flexible. You have to make your plans so that they can adapt to new realities, to new contingencies. You have to anticipate threats, and you have to plan on how you can circumvent or neutralize those threats, and so on. Leaders in the global south, how patient they are, how strategic they are, how long-term they are in their thinking. The leaders who are coming from these older civilizations, the Muslims, the Arabs, the Turks, the Chinese, and so forth, you're not going to outthink them. You might think that you are outthinking them, but you're not. You might think that you're 2 steps ahead, but that's just because you can only think 2 steps ahead, and because what you're trying to reach is just 2 steps away. Meanwhile, they're planning their steps for a miles-long journey. Like I've said before, it's like trying to plan a prison break. If you're planning a prison break, you have to be very careful. You have to be very patient. You have to be very flexible. You have to make your plans so that they can adapt to new realities, to new contingencies. You have to anticipate threats, and you have to plan on how you can circumvent or neutralize those threats, and so on. And that, in my opinion, is exactly what they've been doing, what the Arab states have been doing, what BRICS has been doing, what the Chinese have been doing, even what the Russians have been doing. So in my opinion, we have to be patient right alongside them, because nobody else has a plan or a way to implement it. They don't have the power to implement it, even if they did have a plan. But I think that the plan that they have, and the plan that they're following, and the plan that they are implementing incrementally, gradually, and discreetly, the way that they have to, I think that plan, inshallah bi'ithnillah, will eventually lead all of us out of Western incarceration. Zionism is just not useful to anyone anymore. Or anyway, it's not useful relative to the usefulness of others, relative to the usefulness of regional stability, the usefulness of regional stability to others, meaning to other elites, financial elites. I mean, like I've said before, you can forget about all of the MAGA talk of Trump, all of the populist nationalism of Trump. He is a mascot for the a-national OCGFC. He's not a neocon, and he's not a Zionist, no matter what you think. All of his America First rhetoric, well, that's just a coded way of saying that America needs to be isolated. America needs to withdraw so that other powers can operate in the world, so that other powers, so that there can be multipolarity. Because the way that America has operated in the world up until now has been based upon serving a very narrow set of interests, basically the military-industrial complex. And the interests of the a-national OCGFC, which is the richest faction of the owners and controllers of global financialized capital, their interests are far more varied. And securing their interests requires a very different approach than what America even knows how to do. I mean, the conflicts are being ended. The militants are being dismantled. Stability is being pursued. It's being pursued through cooperation and cohesion of regional powers that's been created between regional powers, including the withdrawal of Iran. I think that the behind-the-scenes diplomatic work of the Arab countries and of BRICS, particularly Russia and China, but also South Africa to a certain extent, it's created a comprehensive framework. It's created collaborative relationships where everybody knows their role. All of these countries, Russia knows their role, China knows their role, the Saudis, the Emiratis, everyone, the Egyptians, everyone knows their role and what the role that they play in that vision and in achieving that vision. And I think that the a-national OCGFC have done their part by making sure that the neocons didn't remain in the White House. That's what happened in November. And at the same time, everyone is also working together to ensure that Europe collapses, to ensure that Europe becomes a complete dependency of the United States, which you can sort of write off as a consolation prize to the military-industrial complex. They'll plunge Europe, they'll plunge the EU into chaos. Since the beginning of the genocide in October 2023, I think there's been a battle going on between the nationalistic OCGFC, the neocons, the military-industrial complex, the Zionists. There's been a battle going on between them and the a-national OCGFC to try to determine the direction of the Middle East. Biden is a neocon. But it seems that the a-national OCGFC now have emerged. They've emerged as the triumphant faction. And they're not wasting any time. That's why the ceasefire, in my opinion, that's why the ceasefire has been forced upon Israel. Because, Gaza and Hamas, they've never been reluctant about making a deal. They've always been ready and willing to make a deal. They've offered time and time again to make a deal. But Netanyahu, throughout the genocide, has had the backing of the neocons, has had the backing of Biden, has had the backing of the military-industrial complex, and that faction of the OCGFC. The default political philosophy of the United States for the last 80 years. So because you have this faction that sort of dominates the bureaucracy of the State Department, there's a difficulty in a uniformity of vision, getting everyone on the same program, getting everyone on the same message. So I think that they've been grappling with each other, these two factions. They've been grappling with each other to try to achieve some uniformity of vision in terms of American policy. But I think that the election of Donald Trump actually shows that the a-national OCGFC are dominant. They won this wrestling match. And the neocons, yes, are receding. They're receding in power. They're declining in power. They're decreasing in power. So as I've said many times, I think that the vision for the a-national OCGFC, the financial elites who are aligning themselves with BRICS, wisely, intelligently, they're aligning themselves with BRICS, they're aligning themselves with the Gulf, and that includes BlackRock. The a-national OCGFC, they want to see the Middle East stabilized. They want to see conflicts end. And they want to see Zionism defanged. And they want to see Zionism eventually gone. And they want Israel to be integrated into the region. They want it to be integrated into the region with less and less dependence on the United States. And this is what has been taking shape all this time. And it's been accelerating over the last 3 months or so, really since the election. Iran is out of Syria. Iran is distancing themselves from their proxy militias, and Israel has been put on notice that the genocide has to end, that the conflict has to end. The ceasefire was accomplished clearly by Trump's people, not by Biden's people, which means that it was accomplished by the a-national OCGFC.